Well, holy shalom, everybody, and blessings to you. This is Apostle Crystal Lee, and I've got my brother Apostle Ace with me this afternoon. We are here for this first part of the year, the new year, the Moed, the very first Moed, Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread. And listen, I'm going to tell you, we're going to have a time this week. I promise you that. We're going to have a time this week. It's going to be exciting. I don't even know how the days are set up yet. This is what it's been. I usually do. And you know what? You just have to prioritize, because today, nothing mattered to me but getting on here and having this conversation. I was trying to do the thing, I was trying to pull it all together, and I just said, you know what? I don't have, I don't know if you guys remember that video. Ain't nobody got time for that. I don't got time for that. It was too many things going on in my mind to be putting something at the beginning of this today. It's just so many different conversations we're going to have during this week. And I'm excited. I'm excited, bro. Are you excited for the epoch of the becomers? This is Pasach 5785. We're going to talk about the 5785. You guys know for the last couple of years, I've been talking about some things regarding the year that we're in. But we are the Enochian breed, and we're going to talk about some things this week during this Passover conversation and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which by the way, we're a day late according to the calendar. However, thanks be to Yah that we are in the space of grace. And you say, why would you tell it? Yeah, listen, I am transparent. I'm transparent. I missed it. I just missed it. Okay. We would have been on yesterday if I had realized that. And I don't know, for some reason I was being pulled, but I just didn't identify what the pull was. Brother, are you on with us this afternoon?
Well, holy shalom
Thanks.
to you, Pastor Sister. Listen, I'm excited with you. My
I am.
goodness.
Oh
Ooh,
my God.
my cup runneth over.
Listen.
And holy shalom to each and every one that is listening. And I'm excited for this time, the season, what's going to be said, how it's going to be said, where it's going to be said at. Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited about everything.
Blessings, Apostle AK.
Absolutely.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Well, we're not going to wait on people to come in. They'll have to catch it on the replay if they miss it today. But this is exciting. And you know what's so funny to me is that we have to get an urgency in this hour, brother. People don't understand the time that we're in. They don't understand the necessity of seizing moments. This is an hour where you need to acquisition every moment. You need to seize the moment. It's that place where, just like the children of Israel were taken to the precipice of the promised land, but were unable to seize the moment. Acquisition was there. The command was there. The power and the presence was there. But they rejected all of that because of how they saw the thing. You got to see this thing right this hour. I'm trying to tell you, you got to see this right, because if you miss this moment, I've said it for over the years several times. If you miss this moment, this might not come. Your next moment, if you have one, might not come around for another 10 years. How the Father operates, how supernatural cycles work, is that there are blocks of time. And I know people don't like to hear that kind of stuff. They don't understand. When you don't acknowledge, or when you, should I say this, when you don't first acknowledge the necessity of time, and then you don't secondarily master time, then you are left in that mode. You're left in time. Does that make sense? When you don't acknowledge time, and you don't master time, because that's what it's given to us for. Is given to us to master. You say, well, how can you say that? Well, the sons of old lived thousands of years. That means they had some level of mastery because of what was built into the system. That was built into the system, and so they were able to acquisition those years because of what was built into the system. That they realized they had people in front of them or behind them that had lived hundreds and thousands of years. You understand what I'm saying? So because they had that measurement, they were able to identify with it being built into a system. So they followed the pattern, right? I'm telling you that there are blocks of time when we don't acknowledge time that keep recycling. And the Father gave me a word many years ago. He said, if you don't get the lesson, class is still in session. Oh my God, I'll never forget that word as long as I live. If you don't get the lesson, class is still in session. That means you're going to keep repeating, right? There's going to be a repetition until you get the lesson. That means you're going to be graduated to the next dimension or the next realm, but it's only after you get the lesson. So time is one of those lessons, and we know because the master said it, even David said it, we see that there was, time was a master, it was a teacher. Time was an instructor. That's what I want to say. Not a master, but it did master a lot of people and still mastering people. But time was put there to be an instructor, a tutor, if you will, right? And when we don't master, come to the level of mastery that we need to come to, like a son matures to manhood, then we remain a slave to time. Brother, say something.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah, we're going on a ride
My
today.
Oh my goodness! You said a whole lot in a few moments.
My God. My God.
But yes, it's just interesting because the intensity of where we're at right now. And as you were
Yeah.
talking, I'm thinking about because at this latter end of the age is greater than the beginning.
Ooh-wee.
So this latter end, we're dealing with fire that is unseen but felt.
Mhm. Oh, yes.
You know,
Yes.
fire that is here, unseen but felt. So
Yes.
we're feeling the effects of what's happening. And even though don't see we say fire, we don't see physical fire, but yet at the same time, there you talked about the urgency.
Yes,
The
Lord.
urgency. We can see the urgency. Those whose eyes are open to the things of Yah. We
Yeah.
see the urgency. Everybody don't see it, but feel it. They
Yes.
feel some kind of urgency, but don't know how to. If they don't see it, they can't follow it. They
Yeah.
can't.
It's
If
not
they
that
don't
they don't
see
see
it,
the
they will be.
tangibility. They don't have any mechanism to understand how to respond to it.
Absolutely. And because of that, we see what's going on. So it's interesting because we're at this time because everything is greater than in the past.
Oh my
So
God.
everything is greater than the past.
Yes.
And so I used to think about when I think of what they went through then, and when the children of Israel when they was coming out of Egypt and in the acquisition of coming out into, and I'm thinking about all that they dealt with
Yeah.
before their minds had to come out first. There
Yes.
had to be
A
a
renewing of the mind.
transition, a
Yeah.
renewing of the coming out of the mind first, in
Mhm.
order for the body to follow.
Yeah.
So the transition of coming out had started within the mind, but the mind was troubled. The
Yes.
acquisition, so that going through it was trouble because now if their mind was not there, then their bodies were still in the. So they got to go through something. It came hard. It became so difficult. All of them didn't understand it, even though in their presence they were not experiencing what the Egyptians was experiencing.
Yes.
Interesting. Only time that they began to feel that pressure was when they were working, doing for the Egyptians. But where they
Yes.
lived and dwelled at, they didn't experience what the Egyptians dealt with.
Yes.
However, y'all said now it's going to be so strong, it's going to filter because now it's in the mind. Because at
Yeah.
home, the presence of Yah in their region. They,
Mm.
everything, the plagues became upon the Egyptians and not the children of Israel.
Yeah.
Interesting, because now it had to be in the mind because they bringing this was now in their mind. They're bringing it home.
Mm.
So now they're having discussion, with Moshe and all this thing was going on. So now the mind becomes so troubled. The mind becomes so troubled. We can't take this anymore. We can't take this anymore. And the acquisition. So now we're going to acquiesce out of this based upon the troubled mind. The troubled mind. Because where they lived at, they didn't have no problem. They didn't. You know, but where they worked at under the beastly system,
Oh.
you see, the beastly system, the religious complex system, all the gods of Egypt, now they got a problem.
Yeah.
Working. Because now we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's going to be harder for you. And some people didn't make it home. Mm-hmm. They died in the beastly system.
Yeah.
And so here we are right now, and we at a place where, okay, you're gonna make a decision, you're gonna make acquisition whether you realize it or not. You're gonna make that. It's upon everybody, because now it's greater than the past. The blessings are greater, and the curses are greater. Everything is greater than where we came from.
Yes.
You see, so it is just interesting that as you begin to talk about, the men of how they lived for thousands of years and what have you and everything, and Yah, he's restoring us back to that, the cycle. We understand he transitioned us. He transitioned us out of time. We had time to measure. Yes. Then he transitioned us out of time to eternal understanding.
That's it.
And so as you were talking about the men who lived 1,000 years old, hundreds and 600 and what have you, going back to Enochian breed. Yes. This is where we come to, because we acquisitioning out of time into eternal.
Yes.
Ooh,
yes, sir.
So there is. Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
So we're coming. So there has to be, because we think about the plan of Yah. He gives us seasons. He gives us seasons to remember by, to do. But at some point, so now we're coming. We're coming out of seasons into a perpetual season, not divided with time, but perpetual. Because and I was saying, whatever they did, however the priests and the high priest, what they did in the temple where everybody couldn't see, everything about them wasn't a season. Here's a period of season. Here's that time of season. That was for the congregation.
That's right.
But for them, it was a perpetual season. Because everything that we look at today in coming into the seasons, what they were the new year. They were the beginning.
Yes.
They were the Passover. Yes. They had Passover with the slaughtering of the animal, the blood. They were it was the Feast of Unleavened Bread in the temple.
Yes.
It was Shavuot in the temple. All of those things. It was the Feast of Trumpets in the temple.
Yes.
All these things, what we have when we come into season, they were perpetual. Yes. The problem is they themselves did not have the Spirit of Yahweh in them.
That's right.
So they began to walk in disobedience. So he transitioned us. He transferred us out of that to a higher dimension. In other words, we begin to ascend.
Yes.
We're the breed of the Enochians.
Yes.
We are that breed. We are. Is everybody there? No, everybody's not there yet, because he's going to deal with the remnant.
Yeah.
He's going to deal with the remnant of who the Enochians, because they have to ascend. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we say this at funerals and things like that. Absent from the body, but present with Yah.
That ain't got
Well,
nothing to do
wait
with
a minute.
physical death.
No. So I'm absent now. I'm no longer earthly, but
That's
I'm in
it.
the presence of Yah. Just like
That's it.
he gave the congregation with the children of Israel, he said, now enter into my season. Now, when you enter in, when you come in, you shift from being earthly to what? Immortal.
That's it.
And
That's
when you
it.
shift, you have ascended. So you know, I don't see you. Now your flesh is dead. You have ascended. You're not seen anymore because you enter into my glory, my
Mm-hmm.
time, my
Mm-hmm.
season. So now the Enochian breed, what? We're there all the time.
All the
So
time. It's a lifestyle.
we're not the measured time seasons. We are the season,
That's
perpetual.
it. Come on, brother. Come on. Come on.
You see, so so when people are, well, listen, the Sabbath never had, listen, their Sabbath didn't have no end in the temple.
That's
In the
it.
garden, didn't have no end. It
That's
didn't
it.
have an evening and a morning. It didn't, and it
Come on.
still don't. But we ascend to that place where we become, where we master, as you said, master. My goodness,
Yes. Yes, sir.
sister, apostle.
Yes.
Listen, you talk about master.
Yes.
He says, well, you're going to do these miracles, that you do these things that I've done. Yeah, okay. But there's the greater things.
Come
The
on.
greater things. What are the greater things? The
Come on.
greater things come when we begin to master,
That's it.
where everything yield to who you are.
That's right.
And the only way that you master, you have to become what that is.
You have to become
You
it.
can't master, you can't master fire if you're not fire.
Come on now. You got to
You
be
can't
what it
master
is in order to be the Lord of it.
absolutely.
Come on.
Absolutely. And
Come on.
so this is where, so when we understand that, the ascension,
Yes.
ascending, we are ascending. So now we're doing the supernatural things. It's
That's
just a
it.
lifestyle. It
That's
becomes a
it.
lifestyle.
A way
It's
of
not
life.
a miracle, a way
Mm-mm.
of life.
That's it.
And so we're here now because now nothing in the earth realm of darkness, of dis-ease and the
Mm-hmm.
sickness won't even touch our body because we have ascended from, we're we're no more earthly, but we are eternal
That's right.
in time.
That's
And
it.
he's allowing us, we no longer, because being in the cage gives us measurement of time.
That's right.
But we no longer, we're free. We were free in the cage, but now we're free from the cage,
Come on
and we
now.
have the ability to go in so many other places.
Oh my
We could
gosh.
go into we go to different dimensions, and in the realm we go to this dimension, go to that
Yes.
dimension. Why? Because we begin to fight and
Yes.
deal with
Yes.
the gods of the earth, the gods
Yes.
of the heavens.
Yes.
And so now, how can we fight? We become like them.
That's it. Come on. Come on.
You see,
We
the only
understand
way
our
we can
position and
fight,
we ain't making no apologies for it. We just are.
none,
We
none,
just be,
absolutely, absolutely, yes.
Man, oh man, I'm telling you, listen, I'm gonna tell y'all. The father, we really haven't even gotten into the lesson yet, by the way. But the father, he gave me a word so powerful the other day, brother. I was standing in the bathroom, washing my hands, and kind of looked into the mirror. And when I looked into the mirror, he said something so powerful, it almost knocked me off my feet when I repeated it. You ready for this? Y'all write this down because you're going to have to decode this over time. You're going to have to start pulling back the layers on this over time. Okay. He said to me that the brain, we've been talking about the mind and the brain and all that. And y'all know the mind is my thing. I've been talking about that for ages, right? He said the brain is relegated to its experiences, but the mind is relegated to its encounters. I'm gonna give y'all a Selah moment on that. When I tell you, when I opened up my mouth and I said the words as I was hearing them, I literally fell back. And you were talking about, you know, as we're opening up this afternoon, we both mentioned the conversation about the mind, right? It, most people are not in mind, they're in brain stage. They're in brain state. They're not in mind stage. Okay. And the Father said something to me the other day. He said that there's been such a waste of energy in so many areas. I'm gonna try to pull up the words he gave me exactly, because he said, oh, here it is. Ooh-wee. I've learned, this is what I wrote. I said, I've learned that there are irresponsible states of being. Oh my God. The difference between the brain state and the mind state. You know, the word declares, let this mind be in you. And then the word also begins to declare that we're to take every thought captive. Why? Because the mind is supposed to be in operation to delineate and to decipher things, so that when we decipher it and we arrest it and we begin to identify the program, it stops it from getting to the brain if it's not something that we can use. But if it's not stopped before it gets to the brain, then it creates patterns. If it's a repetition, then that's the cycle, or that's the system, right? And the Father's calling us to stop being irresponsible in our state of being. Now, I don't know if y'all got that. I see my sister, Prophet Marilyn Mendoza, on, and I know you having a hard time over there getting on. We're gonna figure this out. It's an irresponsible state of being to worry. It's an irresponsible state of being, anxiety, fear, doubt, disbelief, living beneath the identity or living out another identity. Irresponsible states of being. And does it take work? Yes, it does. Where we are right now is a state of responsibility. And this is this is a time that we have to understand that there is a responsibility on our part. We're not just waiting for, you know, some God to do some kind of magical trick for us. You know, you talked about the miracles. The miracles are for disbelievers or unbelievers. They're not for believers. We manifest. And it's a natural way of life. Manifestation is a natural way of life for us. Miracles are for unbelievers because they have never seen a thing that would translate them into the place where they would desire to be transformed. That they've not been put in a position where they desire the transformation, because they're living off their experience, their existing experiences. So they need to have an encounter in order for a shift to come. Are you listening to what I'm saying? Wait, we're going to go back. We're going to go back for a minute. I want y'all to write that down, though. The brain is relegated to its experiences, but the mind is relegated to its encounters. So we're not in the state of mind. Most people are not. By and large, people in the earth are not in the state of mind that is necessary. You say, well, how can you say most people? Because how many people got on that ark? That's a repetition. We've seen it over and over again. How many people got on that ark out of all those people? What nation, how many nations did he choose to represent him before all the other nations? So there's this one to whatever factor that's going on here, right? And the word declares, few there be that find it. That means that many people are not even looking for it. This is why they never find it. You understand what I'm saying? We're in an age of responsibility. And this is one of the reasons, brother, why I feel like we're 1,000 years off of the mark. I know that they keep saying, and we use this for the purposes of having the conversation, because many of us probably missed 5785. That was 1,000 years ago. I believe we're in 6785, and I'll explain that to you later. That's a cliffhanger for you. So you better stay on so you'll know when I talk about that, right? Listen, I'm gonna share this. Everything is being turned upside down. But one thing remains unshaken: the kingdom of Yah and the sons who carry it. Okay? Because here's the reality: there's a seed. And I'm a farmer, so you know, in this day and age, when we have all of these hybrid seeds and genetically modified seeds, there's a such thing called an heirloom seed. That means something that is in its original form. It's not been compromised. And the heirloom seed of Yah is waking up. Not ordinary, not religious. And you know, religion don't just have to do with, you know, the church. It has to do with politics. It has to do with a whole lot of different things. That that diabolic industrial complex. You know, I come up with one every week. The diabolic industrial complex, okay? But these are the sons that are ancient. You ever seen a child before and you say, you've been here before? Why would you say you've been here before? Because of how they're functioning. The functioning dictates that maybe they've seen something that most kids haven't seen. Most children haven't seen this because their operation is a little higher than the average child. This is an ancient, prophetic, and relentless operation. It's what Enoch embodied. And it's inherent in the sons of this age. Listen, this is Pasach. Most people call it Passover, but Hebraically it's called Pasach. And the feasting is not traditional. It's a spiritual intelligence briefing, okay? The feasting is not traditional. The feasting is a spiritual intelligence briefing. It's spiritual. The feasting is doctrine. It's a clarion call to the sons of Yah, who just like Lazarus have to rise and come out from behind the rock that's been rolled in front of them. The grave clothes have to be taken off. So there is a command to those to remove not only the stone, but to remove the grave clothing. Stones are being rolled away, y'all. And guess what? The hybrids are still here. You're going to understand that in a moment. We talked a little bit about hybrid seed, but the hybrids are still here, as they are in every generation. But so are the sons of Yah. We are the Enochian breed. And I'm telling you right now, this is our finest hour. This is the finest hour of mankind that we're in right now. And what Enoch and what Daniel and what Revelation, John revealed, and what the prophets revealed was all about the sons of this age. Yeah, it was an announcement of a lot of things, but it was a definite announcement of the sons of this age. That's why the Father told Daniel, don't write that. Seal it up. No, don't say nothing about that. This ain't for you. I'm not going to give you the understanding or the explanation of this. All I want you to do is write it and close the book. It's for another age. He told John, don't even write that down. So it's things that have not even been written, things that have not even been stated that are now manifesting in the sons, and it has everything to do with the breed that we are. Brother?
My goodness, sister.
We have way too much fun, y'all.
Well, listen, I tell you, sis, you know, a lot was said in there. It's just wonderful. Just enjoying what you were saying, what's coming forth, and just even thinking about what you were saying about the mind and the brain and all that, because you know that's what I'm into. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Most
and
sons are
you
in
know,
that space. Most sons are in that space.
mm-hmm. So that's something that I was just enjoying, and how you was transitioning to the next phase of things, but yet that mind of where we are at today, you know, the mind and the brain, what's there, and you talk about what's there, the mind, because once, and I associate that with, here is, because we're waking up, we're becoming conscious, and so what do we bring, what we allow it to come in, so our conscious mind, then into the subconscious, then there's that brain. Once the brain, because the brain catch that pattern, then that's what it is. Then it's a pattern in the brain. It's a woven path now in the brain and said, this is what you do. This is how you do it.
It's the go-to.
It's the go-to. And so we will look at the subconscious, because most people in the operate in the subconscious, the go-to, to operate that way. However, is what are we allowing to come in when we are conscious?
Come on now. Because ain't nothing coming into that
What?
conscious but what's in that sub.
That's it. So when the conscious mind is open, what are we seeing? What are we dealing with? Are we dealing, as you say, are we dealing with unforgiveness? You know, because once it comes into that subconscious and what have you, then it gets to the brain. It becomes a pattern, and then we
Yeah.
begin to see that here is unforgiveness. And
Yeah.
then, even as you were saying, even with the generate the fourth, I believe we're in the fourth generation. You know, so that here is he punished the children to the third and fourth generation.
Yeah.
These, so we see patterns of ancient times.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We see this, and that it's a life. That's their lifestyle, and they don't even have a clue what it is. But there is a diabolical or a righteous pattern that goes to the third and fourth generation.
Yes.
So we look at the righteous third and fourth generation, the blessing, the cycles of blessing. Because we have not really experienced that side.
Come on.
We haven't. Because when you experience that side of the third and fourth generation of blessings, the blessings are coming, and whoever's in that cycle of blessing, that you didn't. We're trying to figure what's happening.
Yeah.
What? Because there has been with the beginning of what was conscious now into the subconscious have begun. Here's this pattern.
Yes.
And it now is spiritual because it goes from generation to generation to generation to the fourth generation. And it was like everything they touch is gold. They walk is gold. Everything the person who they are, they affects everybody's life. That is totally it changes who they are. Everything about their persona, every way that they think. Because now in my brain, I have carved out this pattern that now that when it comes into now, I begin to search out the right thing. I search out the right thing to receive this coming into the conscious mind. Because once we get enough in that area, the subconscious, then we block out so many other things that want to change. So now you talk about the sons of Yah that's coming forth, that now that's Yah's preparing to do some things in people's lives that is ready, because people are looking for truth. People are looking for the truth. They're in search of why? Because they're conscious. Everybody want to know, what is my purpose here on earth? What am I here to do? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure. I got all this money. I'm still trying to figure out. I don't have all this money. I want to figure out what is my purpose? What? I don't know why. I don't know why. And they wake up, and the problem is, who is right there to begin to give them exactly what is needed? So these are some of my thoughts as you were sharing this and what have you, because it is something. It really is. And so that mind, the very thought, what's there, what's getting into the brain? What are we allowing to get to the brain? Because once that pattern is out, sometimes patterns are hard to break.
Oh yes, they're not easy.
That I've been doing this all my life.
Wow.
So even in Jeremiah talks about, well, listen, how do I know I've been doing this? I don't know that I did bad to repent. I don't have no need to repent. This is what I've been doing all along.
They don't know what that is even. They don't even know how to define that.
No, absolutely.
No definition. No, they haven't been given the definition. I'm loving this. AK say, yes, I'm 36 and no one is talking or sharing this. And this is the issue of the age. And that brings me to something that the Father also said to me. And I'm going to go back to something that I said up here about affecting affecting the blessing of change in a lot of people's lives. And then, like Prophet said, Prophet Mendoza said, and like you're saying, and then turn around like, well, what am I supposed to do? Because I thought about this even in business and from a spiritual perspective as just a leader, thinking about how many people I've affected change in their lives. And then I went back had to start over. You know what I'm saying? But then I began to master what I was seeing and what I was learning and how I was functioning and say, wait, this is for me. It's not just for them. But, if you've been programmed and the only thing that you're identifying with is blessing others, then you don't understand how to be to yourself what is needed before you. It's like putting your oxygen mask on before you put others' masks on. The Bible talks about loving your neighbor as you love yourself. And see, the industrial complex has it twisted. It's twisted. So we can go out and make millions of dollars for other people. People going to work every day, and I'm not knocking that. There's a process. Everything has parts and seasons and processes. So don't take and isolate one thing that I say and say, oh, she said don't go to work. No, some people are in that stage. But the reason that you're there, if you're a son of Yah, is to identify systems and to equate that to what the Father's been talking to you about so that you can seize the moment and step out into what you've been called to do and manifest that work in a space of excellence and from a place of excellence, right? But what he said brings me to this. The Father was talking about how the king thing, right? Y'all know what I call the king thing is that diabolic rulership or diabolic systems are the king thing, like Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, he takes the young people, right? And anybody that is anybody in the way of rulership or trying to run systems understood that they needed the young people. So what did they do? They acquisition the young people. They created campaigns to acquisition the minds of the youth. And it's the same thing that's happening even now. It's the same thing that's happening even now. These kids are glued to these devices. They are raising devices, raising the children, and the parents are not paying attention. But this is what the Father said to me, to go back to what was stated there. AK, make sure I have a name to match with you. So I make sure I'm not, if you're a man, I'm not calling you a woman. And if you're a woman, I'm not calling you a man. I'm not sure. Look at this. He said to me, wait, the youth of this generation are being contaminated, infected by the diabolic cultures of the world systems. And this is what the Father said to me. Yah declares that which we refuse to redeem, we are leaving for darkness to completely convert. Y'all need to write it down. That which we refuse to redeem as sons of Yah. Oh, they way too far gone. And no, he ain't telling you got to make them do anything, but the seed must be planted. The son of Yah just said online, nobody's taught me this. I'm 36. I ain't never heard nothing like it. This is basically what's being said. That means there's a lack of demonstration and a lack of instruction on life as a believer. I'm telling you. And so people are just kind of trying to identify what's next. Well, how do I do this and how do I do that? And it's a difficult thing to try to figure it out yourself and you don't have examples, because the easiest way to get where you're going is to follow an example, right? He said that, I'm going to repeat it for you. The youth of this generation are being consumed. They're being contaminated, infected by diabolic cultures of the world systems. And this is what Yah declared. He said, that which we refuse to redeem, we are leaving for darkness to completely convert. I'm going to yield the floor for a minute so you can say something about that, brother.
And let me be the first.
See?
Let me say this because it's, as I hear this, there is some accountability on some of our behalf with our children.
It is.
And because we turn our children over to systems.
Yep.
We have.
We fed them
and so what has happened is, as we turn them over, because the system understand the powerful mind of a youth.
Yes, it's an absorbency. It's a sponge.
Yeah, right. And so they understand the imagination.
Yes,
So
sir.
we are in this area where the imagination, what has taken place is we look at this generation of our youth today. They got devices, as you stated,
Yes.
but we put them in a position that we turn them over to a system, and the system now says, we got your child.
We got you.
We got your child.
Yeah.
And this is how we are, this is what we're gonna do, and you can't do nothing about it.
This is how we're gonna roll.
Because what we're gonna do, we're gonna steal,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna rob them of what they got
Yes.
in their mind. We're gonna steal it.
Yep.
And when we get it, when we get it, then now, because when they steal it, it is a place of darkness to enter in, because what they've stolen, the young, and it's control. It's
It is.
control now. So now it becomes a area of darkness to manipulate. And
Yep.
understand this: what they're stealing from what they've stolen from our children.
They're using it
And
against
we
us.
see, there you go. Because
Yeah.
now we see children, we see the children in darkness.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking about,
It's,
brother? I
go
was
ahead.
wondering, just the thought. It was just a passing thought. Why would they name them uh generation Gen Z?
Zine.
Gen Z and X. But you know what's funny about that? That's the end of the alphabet. I'm just saying. Where did that come from?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's the end of the
Mm-hmm.
alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
Generation Z,
Mm-hmm.
Generation X. I
Mm-hmm.
think they got a Y, a Generation Y. That's XYZ. That's the
Mm-hmm.
end of a thing.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. So we because it's coming to an end of something.
Yes, it is.
And so now we, as you said, the sons of Yah, the ones that are waking up, the Enochians,
Yes.
to fight the diabolical spirits in the universe.
Yes.
See, I ain't trying to fight you and physically. No. Went through that. And so now he's ascending us, those who are there to fight fight for our children, to get them back.
Yep.
That's the only way it's going to be done, because it's diabolical. It goes back. We talk about where we are now, the fourth generation. We understand when the children of Israel, when it came down to the fourth generation, what took place, and what the acquisition out of, from what, Egypt to the wilderness. So we're in the spiritual promised land now.
Mm-hmm.
We've crossed over. But what has happened? But what has happened? So therefore, we find ourselves, and so I'll be the first one to say, yeah, I repent on behalf of
Yes.
our children. I got to
Yes.
repent, because there was time I was caught up in myself
Come on.
and wasn't paying attention,
Mm-hmm.
and the system came and said, we got your child. Everything's going to be all right. It's going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And now look. We got 7, 8 years old having a fit, a diabolical fit, because you take the phone for an hour.
Oh my God.
Ready to fight, spit,
And
hurt.
have killed. There are children
Yeah,
that have been killed.
right. And we're like, what? I don't understand. Yes, we do understand. We understand. We
Yep.
understand, because but now Yah has the ones that he's raised up. The sons of thunder, the Enochians, the sons of Issachar.
Yes.
All this is wrapped up in
It's all wrapped up
all of
in there.
us.
It is.
You know, and the one who, not Elijah, but Elisha, the
That's
double
right.
portion.
That's right. That's
you
right.
know, you know. So it is time for us with the double portion, spirit and truth,
Mm-hmm.
that will come and begin to take everything back. Why? Because we are the spirit of Jubilee.
That's
We
it.
have the we have the authority. We got to know when we know the signs with the time, what time it is. We are in the spirit of Jubilee. We're going to take back, we getting back the land. So we
Yes.
got to do it spiritually first. We see it got to come spiritually first.
Yes.
Because we ought to understand that the diabolical mindset of the mind of what has happened is it starts there.
Yeah.
It starts there. What comes into the mind, then all of it goes into the brain. Now we see the expression of it.
True. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm loving something that Anna said. AK said this. She said that now they've got the generation alpha. And what generation alpha? This is why this is so important. You got to pay attention to the details. And sons of Yah, pay attention to details. We don't just listen to things and watch things and hear things, and it's just a bypassing of information. I'm going to tell y'all in a minute. This is a spiritual intelligence briefing. That's what this week is going to be about. This is a spiritual intelligence briefing. You understand what I'm saying to you? And we're going to go over what an intelligence briefing requires and what it's for this week. We're going to go over that because these things are important. These are things that we have to know. Why is it an X, Y, right? Or a Y and a Z? We had the X, but now we're at the Y and the Z, right? But Generation Alpha are the children of Y and often the siblings of Z. So what's happened is Y created a system or a structure or infrastructure. Z came through there, and then Alpha, it goes back to the beginning because now we got perpetual generations of a thing being passed down. Okay? And now there's a genetic
Yes, fact.
disposition that's now going to create a whole new situation. I don't know if you're getting this. Let me know if I'm moving too fast. She also said that the phone devices speed up the pineal gland. It's a fact. And then we're dealing, and one of the reasons why that's an issue too is because of the blue light that's coming off the screen. So just like, having an alcoholic addiction or cigarette addiction or sexual addiction or whatever the addiction is, that you're creating this sense of something that is, it's a false sense of something because it's so, when you're talking about addiction, it's something that you want to do and it's unnaturally done. You understand what I'm saying? Anything that is a continual pattern of a natural doing takes it away from its natural operation. Does that make sense? And once you take it away from its natural operation for a period of time, now it no longer knows how to act in its original state anymore. So even if given the stimulus to act in an original state, it fails to operate because now it's been built on all these heightened senses, continual heightening of the senses, right? And now it doesn't understand how to operate and function naturally anymore. But what I'm thinking about as I'm saying that is we go back to the beginning. We go back to the beginning that we're in right now, that we have a record of, right? And what does Yah do? He hovers over the face of the waters. But he's not just hovering. His spirit's not just hovering. His spirit is hovering because there is a concept. There is a blueprint. There is something on his mind that he is now in positioning himself to recreate, right? So the spirit of Yah hovers over the face of the waters. And then it says, and Elohim said. Well, we know how that works, right? We've talked about Elohim and how in the beginning Elohim created. And this is where, see, a lot of people get thrown off because they hear people say, oh, well, the aliens created us. And, that's so far-fetched. Only God did this and that. But they're not understanding that Elohim means a council of gods, right? But what darkness does is they take a truth and they twist it. And then people who don't know truth start arguing and sounding ignorant. And that's why you can't convert nobody, because you're so ignorant of what the truth is that you're not able to convert them, because they understand duplicity. They understand that. They understand that there is a counsel. But they're going to take that counsel and now they're going to create something separate from the true and living God. They're going to create something separate off of what he already created. The Mashiach says this to the Pharisees. He said, gods, there are many. Are you tripping on me saying I'm the son of Yah? There are many gods. But they wanted to stone him for saying that he was the son of Yah, which implicated that he was a god. But he shared with them what was in the Psalms. Gods, there are many. And people still can't even wrap their heads around these concepts, to the point where they don't understand that Enoch walked with gods. Yes, all of those gods are under the auspices. The ones that he was walking with were under the auspices of the Almighty God, of Yah. But there is a work that is being done, whether you're on this side or whether you're traveling from this side to another, or whether you're traveling from that side to this side. There is work. The sons of Yah work. There is a work that must be done. There is a kingdom that must be exampled. And not many people are identifying with that kingdom, because there are not people that are desiring to awaken. They want to stay in the state of their industrial religious structures. They want to stay in the state of their complexes and those systems that make them comfortable. Brother, I would say this. It's such a funny thing. I was sharing my husband when I was last on a flight, that I was in the plane. And as I was riding on the plane, I was looking out the window. I love to sit at the window because I love to see what's going on, right? I love to see things. And the Father always shows me things when I'm sitting in that window. And as I was looking out the window this time, though, and this is not the first time this has happened, but it was like it's a reoccurring thing. But, well, how do we get a thing that's reoccurring to be consistent? Because we're consistently in a space, in a state. Remember I told you about wasted state of mind, wasted state of being, right? And as I'm looking out the window, I begin to see the particles of things. I'm looking at the wing of the plane, but I saw it in particles and not as a tangible piece of a thing. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm like, uh-oh, we're back to that again. And why are we going in and out of these, ebbing and flowing in these spaces? Because the Father has to introduce a thing to us, and he has to push us into spaces and show us things, so that when we begin to understand, no, that's my spot. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. That's how I'm supposed to be functioning. Then we take the responsibility of that functioning. We take the responsibility of that functioning, and now we're operating as the becomers. We're operating now in that epoch of the becomers, that Enochian breed, because now we're able to transcend. It's not just okay, I'm here today and then maybe tomorrow I'll get to go. No, it's a transition that we can just function in. We can just walk into spaces. We can just sit in one space and walk into another at the command of Yah, because this is what we're called to do. This is what we're called to be. So when I talk about that hovering, it's the place of having a thing in mind before I begin to have the conversation, because what I say, what I breathe, because of the essence of Yah living in me, what I breathe begins to take on a face of its own. But what I begin to speak, what I begin to breathe begins to manifest. And people are doing this every day. They just don't know that they're doing it. You know, when they're complaining, when they're whining, when they're doing all these things, and they are frustrated about what hasn't happened or what's not happening, they are perpetuating the unhappening of it instead of perpetuating the happening. Because I can just as well say, oh, I'm excited. It's a new day. Yah has made this day. I'm going to rejoice. I'm going to be glad in the day. And I'm asking for the wisdom of the day so that I can seize every moment that is presented to me, that I'm going to walk through this door, that door, that door. And now I got a plan for something, because now I'm commanding the day because it was given to me for me to rejoice. and to be glad in it. And there's no better place of rejoicing and gladness than a son that has dominion. The reason why so many people are frustrated is because they have not yet stepped into their space of dominion. They don't understand that yet. That's an Enochian concept, to step into dominion. But understand, it didn't happen for Enoch overnight. He lived 65 years before he identified this supernal space that he was born to operate in. 65 years. And the word says, and he walked with the gods. Elohim, plural. And then he was and he was not, because Yah took him. He ascended to another plane. That doesn't mean that he's not still in operation. Oh, of course. That seed is permeating our very being. It permeated the being of the Mashiach. You say, well, I thought he was after the order of Melchizedek. Yes, there's a difference between a breed and an order. The order is the priesthood. The kind is the breed. You understand what I'm saying? It's all of that. It's absolutely all of that. This afternoon, we stand in our authentic authority. This is what Yah made available to all the sons through many examples. We're going to stand against any and all attempts against the minds of men to blind and to prevent truth. Because Father gave us liberty, a freedom to arrest or to accept or reject every thought or idea. We got to arrest it first, though. Then we can accept or reject it. Because we got to measure it against the righteous rule of divine appointment. And you say, well, what does that mean, measuring it against the rule of divine appointment? Because I told y'all, Christ is not a last name. Christ simply means appointment. You say, oh no, Christ means anointing. Well, you're not anointed unless you have an appointment. Hello? So we got to measure it against the righteous rule of divine appointment concerning every son. You've got to do the same thing. He said, as I was in the earth, so are you. This is the way. This is following the Mashiach. This is the way to follow, to do what he did, to follow by example, to follow the example that he gave us. So you got to measure it against the righteous rule of divine appointment. But if you don't even know what your appointment is, that's where we're going to have a problem at. But I declare today that every man under the sound of my voice, when I say man, I'm including men and women, every man under the sound of my voice is freed from the powers of deception, bewitchment, and diabolic spells. Truth will be heard, and your decision is going to be made, because that's the hour we're in. We're in the hour of not indecision, but decision. May every plan of the adversary be exposed today in your life, and uncovered eyes are going to see, uncovered ears are going to hear and perceive in supernatural measures today. Even the secrets of the chambers of darkness, you're going to know that. The Father is moving his remnant strategically into acquisition positions, just like it was with the children of Israel, moving from that captivity into that promised place. But it's a mindset. The reason why we're being moved into that position is to influence the culture through dominion identity. So I pray today that our fingers be taught to war, and the Father give our hands the strength to fight. Because we are his threshing instruments. And we're going to move through the earth courageously and fearlessly in this hour. Come on, if you just take a few minutes and just allow the Father's wisdom. Father, we allow your wisdom to be our instructor. We allow your wisdom to be the symphonic director of the melody that was already penned from the beginning, the melody that you want to flow through us into the earth. We walk in harmony of your divine movement, and we're going to execute your justice on behalf of those that are treated unjustly, and judgment against those in darkness of their heart to seek to keep your people, your creation, in captivity. This is what the word of Yah is for, is to reveal, to expose the adversary. And when we expose the adversary, we are also allowing truth to be revealed. And that's what gives people the opportunity to make a decision. Today, we declare the release of the remnant. Right now. And the roar of the Enochian breed as they stand. You know, nobody can identify fake until they've experienced what's real. Ask me how I know. You can't identify the fake until you experience what's real. People eating every day. Oh, I can use my bread as an example. My family has eaten bread their whole life, but when they ate my bread, they didn't want the other bread no more. These are principles that seem simple in these situations, but they are principles that work across the board. I could give you a list of things my husband said he ain't going there no more, and these are places he liked to go. I'm not going there. My wife make that. I'll go get the ingredients first before I go there. When you have the real thing, you no longer have a desire for the thing that is the compromise. That's just a real thing. That's a real principle. So when you get the real thing, when you have a real encounter, I'm not talking about a fake encounter because you fell out of church. I ain't talking about that. When somebody prayed and you just decided you was going to fall on the floor. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something you stood in. There was a conversation that heaven had with you through a mouthpiece that opened up something to you. And now you have stepped into a space of encounter and you ain't going back. I tell people all the time, I can't unlearn what I've learned. I can't unsee what I saw. I can't unknow what I know now. It's too late. I'm too far gone. Brother, I'm too far gone. It's too late. Come on, say something, brother.
Say what?
You too funny.
Say what? Well, listen, sister, I know I can't stay on. I'm gonna have to, acquisition to another platform in a few moments, and there's just a couple of things as that stood out, and they're talking about Enoch, the 65 years. The 65 years he was controlled and manipulated by the gods.
Yes.
Then the acquisition to ascending, now he became a residence of the gods that were controlling him. And now he can deal with them on their level.
That's
next
right.
next is that you talked about, and I want to talk at some point, I want to have a conversation with you about the color blue, because you mentioned that the Yas hovered over the face of the water. And then when we look at the zeet seats, and he said this is the zeet seats, or the fringes, not the fringes, but the tassels that's on the four corners of the prayer shawl, where put a cord of blue.
Yes.
Yahweh hovered over the face of the water. And yet there was darkness in the deep. So there is Yah over the face of the water. And so when we understand on the face of the water is blue.
Yes.
So when we look when we understand where we at in the bubble that we in, when we look in the sky, we see blue. and we don't understand the power of blue. We don't understand the power of blue, but the diabolical system does. Why? Because these devices that we look into is the color of blue.
That's it.
Which blue is light. To control that blue light, to control you into dealing what they want you to do. And so what does it affect? It affects your spirituality. It affects the pineal gland.
That's right.
It affects all those things that says, here is your contact with the Most High. But we can control it with the color, the light, the blue light.
Come on, we can control
But we don't understand the power of blue. Based upon, they took blue and understood the power of blue, because we understand that blue eye, we call it the blue eye devil, that they are distinctive today with a certain type of authority in the land right now, blue eyed people.
Yes.
You know, I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and it was well, black men with non-pigmented white women and what have you. I said, but here's the thing: you've seen them with non-pigmented females that would have blue eye, that didn't have blue eye, had brown and black eyes, but you never really seen a black man with a female with blue eyes. Very rare. Very rare. And understanding the blue eye, the blue light, the blue, the understanding the power of blue and what it does. So when we go back to Yah, and you said the spirit of Yah hovered over the face of the water, how powerful that is for us. And so when we look up, we see blue. When we look at, so what they did took the light, the blue light, and now diabolically turned it around to control our what? Young people.
That's right. And those who are immature at heart. The children. Let's just say the children.
Right, the children. So, but that's what stood out. And I, at some point, I really want to have the discussion
we're
with
gonna have
you
that conversation.
about,
We're gonna have that
because
we're definitely gonna have that conversation.
listen, I got red glasses.
Absolutely. And red light
To
is a thing. You see,
counteract.
I put it in the chat that the cord of red, Rahab situation. You say, what that got to do with this? You know, if you follow, you follow. If you don't, you don't. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You see,
there are connected
so I didn't.
things. Yeah,
I didn't see that in the comment. So, but we because as we understand the sun, and look, I gaze into the sun every day.
Yeah.
When absolutely. I do that, with I see red.
Yes.
I see red. Absolutely. What is it? So what that red? What is it doing for me?
That's right.
Because the red represents that is fire.
That's right.
It's fire.
Purging.
Absolutely. So, but anyway, I would love to have that conversation with you, and for those who that's there, because that the power of the blue light.
Yes.
Ooh-wee. But anyway, since and everybody, I got to leave you guys, and I got to go to another platform with another group of people, and with that, I just want to say I'm looking forward to this week.
Yes.
In the conversation, I really am, and it's just really exciting because today I am the Passover. I am unleavened bread.
That's it. That's it.
I'm the grain offering. I'm the drink offering. I'm all of that.
We the first fruit. We all of that.
The first, all of that. Yes. So, but anyway, listen, sis, I love you forever. Everyone, I love y'all, brothers, sisters along, and you all continue to let this. Oh, listen, let today enjoy you.
Period. Mic drop and exit.
Come under my authority.
That's it, Dave. Come on, Dave.
Yeah. So anyway, listen, I'll talk to you soon, as we often say, what the old folks will say, in a minute.
In a minute. Peace.
All right. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom. Oh, we thank Yah for our brother Ace. We thank Yah for him. And we're not going to be on much longer, guys. I want to give you some context of this Enochian breed before I get off. I want to give you some context of the meaning and the prophetic scope of this Enochian breed. We're going to come back to it tomorrow. We are actually a day off. Yesterday was Pasach. We're in the Feast of Unleavened Bread right now. We're going to give some instructions and that kind of thing for the week. But I want to give you some context of the Enochian breed. First of all, it's a lineage of distinction. We've been kind of talking about the distinction part, the set apart part throughout the conversation, but it's a lineage of distinction. And it's set apart by encounter. Okay? When you look at the book of Enoch, When you look at the man Enoch, even in the Bible reference to him, he is a man that walked with the gods. That's an intimate, it's dimensional communion that set him apart not only from his contemporaries, but from almost most biblical figures. His bloodline through all the way through to Methuselah and ultimately Noah became the surviving strand DNA post-flood. This suggests an Enochian breed, a breed or lineage that's marked by divine favor, spiritual insight, and preservation through judgment. In other words, they are those that are protected from the judgment that is pending on darkness, on the diabolic nature, right? It implies a spiritual DNA of walkers, watchers, and witnesses. Those who, like Enoch, move between realms, they carry divine knowledge and become emissaries of eternal blueprints. This is who the sons of Yah are, the Enochian breed. Here's the second thing. Now, we're going to talk about this a little bit more tomorrow. There is a counterfeit breed, the hybrid from the watchers. And you say, well, why can you say that? As the Father was talking to me and walking me through this, I thought that was a little different too, because you'll notice that there is, if you look at the book of Enoch, there's also a book of giants that's connected to the book of Enoch. And I love what brother just said. He talked about how Enoch was walking through his process. And when he got to 65, he began to dominate or operate in his dominion, which meant that he began to rule over the gods that once ruled him. It's a real place. But you got to remember that Seth is from the line of Enoch, and the daughters of Seth were those that were viewed by the watchers. And this is where this hybrid came from. So there's a counterfeit for everything. Unholy offspring of the watchers and the human women. They were not just physical aberrations. They represent the corrupt seed or the corrupted seed, the contaminated purpose that was discussed in Genesis with the woman. The seed of the woman, right, will become an adversary to the seed of the serpent. These beings also carried knowledge, but not given by divine permission. See, the knowledge is not necessarily the issue. The knowledge is an issue when it is before it should be given. The knowledge is an issue when it's given out of time. It's given when it's given. It's an issue when it's given out of time. Like, I'm not going to have a major conversation with my granddaughter that is 5 or even 2 about sexuality. Not from a grown-up perspective. I may infer some things about her being a little girl and about how little girls, oh, look at that. Look at this. The little girls, look at our little girl toes, or our, even when this is a funny thing, even when my granddaughters go to the bathroom, when I taught them to wipe, I said at the end of me teaching them how to wipe, this is what girls do. It's just how girls do, right? Because I'm reinforcing their identity, their physical identity. You understand what I'm saying? So this is necessary that we understand that there is a counterfeit breed. And when we talk of the Enochian breed, it's a prophetic term referring to the offspring of both those that have authorized and unauthorized knowledge, because you got to understand, Enoch had authorized knowledge, so much so that even the watchers were seeking his wisdom to try to get out of their punishment. You couldn't help them with that, right? But it's the same thing when you look at the Mashiach. It's the same thing that those that were filled with devils, whether it was the man in the tomb, he said, "Have you come to torment us before our time?" Right? It's something that happens when you're carrying this seed, when you're this breed. Darkness begins to ask you questions. It also will attempt to intimidate before it starts asking questions. So you notice that the Mashiach went into the wilderness first, and then he was tempted first. But then when he left the space of temptation, he graduated because he was able to understand his identity throughout that whole area of temptation. Now he begins to master. And now these adversaries ask questions. instead of trying to infer something. It's all about growth. This conversation is going to introduce tension between the true Enochian line, those that are preserved, prophetic, and pure, and the false Enochian offspring that are giants or a result of genetic corruption, dealing with the Watchers' rebellion. And that's still going on right now. Okay? Here's what is relevant to us. The Enochian breed doesn't just refer to the bloodline, but to function. Those who in the last days, who like Enoch navigate heavenly realms, they're the seers, right? They warn of coming judgment, the watchmen. They walk in intimacy with Yah. They are the friends of Yah. And they are removed and transformed, even in the face of judgment. So this would suggest that the Enochian breed is not just a bloodline, but a prophetic type, archetype, a company of end-time walkers who, like Enoch, access realms, decode mysteries, and stand between worlds. And even when you get all the way over to the children of Issachar, the sons of Issachar, they are of this breed. Everything that came out of Enoch, Abraham, is what produced Israel. You understand? And Israel's journey, the body of that people, whatever tribe it was, they all had their standard. And we're dealing with that tribe of Issachar specifically. They come out of the Enochian breed. It's all about genetic memory, because genetic memory is in prophetic DNA. And from a dimensional angle, you could even say that there is a prophetic gene, not in flesh, but in spirit, where the same call Enoch carried has reemerged in a new generation. They're talking about a generation Alpha, right? This is generation E. It's spiritual epigenetics, if you will. Okay, so let's just look at a summary viewpoint for the Enochian line really quickly, because I want to come back to this. I've got so much more to discuss with you about the Enochian breed, and we want to get into the conversation about the Feast of Unleavened Bread and why we are acknowledging or recognizing that. But I want you to read Exodus chapters 11 and 12. We're going to go over it tomorrow, but I want you to take the time to read it today. Read Exodus chapters 11 and 12, because we're going to go through that. We got to deal with some things and see the transitional pieces that created Passover, that created Pasach, right? I don't know how in the world they turned this time into Easter. Well, I do. I could tell you how they turned it into Easter. Maybe I'll tell you that tomorrow. But just be mindful that we are following what the Father gave us and not what tradition has given us, because that's really important. That's another one of those differentiators, right? Some people just say, well, I ain't going to celebrate nothing. Well, that's a problem too, right? Because there are some things that we should recognize, some things that we should definitely remember. So historically, Enoch's line was chosen to preserve the seed. Biblically, Enoch was the bridge between realms and records. Okay? Records meaning things that were to come after him, and things that came before him, things that he was given charge over, right? Transactions like the adjudication or the judgment of things, right? Mystically, Enochian breed holds the knowledge of stars, times, and judgment. And I know that just threw a bunch of religious people off, because they don't understand words. They think that because darkness uses specific words that it belongs to them. It doesn't. We'll talk about what a mystic is tomorrow. And prophetically, the term could mark a generation of sons that are awakened to their function as heavenly ambassadors on earth. Okay? This is where we are, and I'm excited. I'm excited. Listen, you guys, be here with me tomorrow. I believe we're going to do 1 o'clock as we did today. I am certain that you will be fed. I'm certain that you're going to get something out of what we're sharing. We are actually in the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And like I said, we'll go over some things tomorrow. But, what is the unleavening of the bread all about? I want to share that right before I get off. It's about doctrine. Bread is, in Scripture, is related to doctrine. And when you look at what the Father did with the children of Israel, bringing them out and not allowing, first of all, he didn't allow the bread to rise because there was a haste. There was a haste that was put on them to get out of their captivity, to leave their captors. And this is the thing that the Father is demanding of the sons. That's why the clearing call has gone out. The captivity is going to be made captive in this hour. Blessings to you, AK. Thank you so much. I pray more people are led to the channel as well, that the Father would begin to reveal the things that have been hidden, and their eyes would be open to authentic identity. Listen, so he brought them out. He didn't allow the bread to rise, but then he instituted on the other side of that the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? And that's all about their doctrine changing, them coming out of the mindset. Remember, we were talking about the wasted, the wasted. I need to find the exact words. I want to give you the exact words because that thing blessed me so much. I'm going to give you the exact words. I don't want to give you my interpretation of it. I'm going back to the exact words. Irresponsible states of being, right? It takes me back to that. They were irresponsible in their state of being. He was showing them everything that they needed to see. He was giving them everything that they needed to have, There are moments that he supplies the needs and then he goes beyond, because look, the promise was beyond the need. The promise served the need that he had to put his people in a position that would bring other nations to him. Right? But we're going to go into this. We're going to go into this and have some conversations. But understand that doctrine is so important. It's so very important. And this is the thing that the Father is dealing with in this hour. He's dealing with the doctrine. He's dealing with the thing that you've been fed, because most people they're not reading the Bible for what it says. They're reading the Bible from their own perspective. Wherever they live, they're reading it from their perspective. And they're not even in this perspective that they are reading it from is this perspective they've been given, not one that they have, had a mind to identify with, if that makes sense. They are literally reading what they've been told and not what it says. And so, listen, the Father is transitioning us. He wants to show us the deeper things. He wants to reveal to us the things that are deeper, because we can no longer be surface. Surface is not revealing who he is to the world. It's not revealing who he is to the world. And we will never acquisition the souls of men doing ritualistic, traditional, man-made, doctrinal stuff. It's not going to happen. I don't care how many times people say, oh, it's not church as usual. It is church as usual. As long as that's the mindset, as long as you have a program, it's church as usual. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have any structure, but you should be open to what the Holy Spirit's structure is for a space if you are going to deliver the message of a king. His message is not always the same, and neither is it always delivered in the same way. I remember a season when I gave 1,000 verses. I mean, I taught and gave verses, and I'm not in that season. As an apostolic leader, I'm here to give you the conversation, not just the exact location to find it. And I know that sounds crazy to religious people, because they, well, you give us a Bible verse. Well, you go find it. You should have been reading long enough to know these things. And half the people that listen to this may not even read Exodus 11 and 12 and be prepared for a conversation. But even in school, you had to read the text in order to be prepared for the test. You can't be prepared for a test if you don't prepare it through the text, right? So I'm excited. Nonetheless, I'm excited about this week. And man, I don't really have any more words for you today. I'm just going to come back tomorrow and begin to open up some things that we've talked about already today. But go back and check it out and listen to the words that have been shared. And I pray that it continues to bless you and continues to reveal to you who you really are, so that you can begin to walk out who you really are in this hour. All right? Listen, I love you, and I want you to remember that you're blessed. Don't you forget it. And as we say before we get off all the time, the body is not a me thing, it's a we thing. And this is why we are called to this moment and to this time, for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, until we all come into the unity of the faith. And listen, we're taking charge. We're large and in charge in this season. I promise you, you're going to walk in dominion in this hour like you've never walked before. I'll see you tomorrow at 1. Shalom, shalom.